With the Paris Olympics only a few days behind us, today's guest is a particularly interesting one. Have you ever wondered what it takes to put on a global sporting event like the Olympics or the FIFA World Cup or Formula One race? Today's guest, Guy Horner, is the CEO of the TBA Group, and the TBA Group does just that. Not only do they handle putting on the event and all the logistics, but they also deliver a memorable experience for the fans in attendance. Guy's got some really interesting things to say and deals with some really interesting clients. I think you're going to love this episode. Boundary Breakers is brought to you by Carter & Clark. I am very much looking forward to diving into, the experiential marketing and what TBA Group does and how you got there. I'd love to if we could just get 2 or 3 minutes on your background just for the audience, just to know sort of who they're hearing from and where you grew up and how you got here to where we are today.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I've always had an interest in marketing and experiences and live events and the hospitality industry, anything where there's an experience really. And I originally started off in communications and PR, working for a PR firm in London. And that was great, but it was, kind of straight out of university. And I found it a little intangible. A lot of press releases, a lot of writing, and not a lot of physical manifestation of all the hard work. So I started to lean towards live events, and I got an opportunity to kind of take a step sideways, maybe slightly back into a junior event role with a live event agency in London called Tony Ball Associates, TBA Group as it now is. So I joined TBA and really, really enjoyed the creativity and the whole ideation process and then the delivery process and the satisfaction of actually seeing that experience come to life and people engage with it and create memories from it. And fast forward then, I was sort of growing my career in my 20s and had a decent book of clients. And there was a management buyout going on. And the guy said, you can stay on as an account manager, an account exec. And I said, well, I've got these great clients. They trust me. They like me. They like what I'm doing. And they didn't want to make me a director or a partner or a shareholder. So I said, okay, well, I'll just go off and I'll go and work for IPG or Omnicom or WPP and, gain more experience and grow outside the agency. Excuse me. And so I spoke to the CEO and said, look, I'm thinking of leaving. And he said to me, you've done a great job. You've been here 3 years. Why don't you take the agency over? I was like, well, I'm barely 25, I don't have any money. I think I've got some good client relationships. They like what I'm doing. They trust me. So kind of long story short, I ended up taking the agency over on a sort of earn out over an extended period. The founder and chairman had faith in me to sort of carry his baby forwards. It was set up in 83. I joined in 97, which was a very long time ago now, and then took over the business after the millennium in 2000. So, since then we've grown and diversified the business. But it's been quite a journey. My 20s were perhaps not as much fun as some of my friends who were playing sport and dating and messing around. I was fully immersed in being a business owner and having the responsibility of that, which has obviously paid off in more recent years with the scale and variety and strength of the business that we've managed to get to at this stage and still growing, obviously.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic. And what a story. And obviously you did a fantastic job. If, the founder and the chairman were willing to, or trusted you to take over the business at 25, I think that, speaks volumes in terms of what they saw in you and your talent and expertise. Well, so tell us about TBA Group sort of as it stands today. The events that you guys put on, sort of how big you are, where you do it, how you're different from other live event type companies, et cetera.
Sure. I mean, we're a global brand experience agency, so we work globally for brands, for sports rights holders, with entertainment clients, delivering experiences. That could be a stadium or arena show for thousands of people. That could be a boardroom meeting for a FTSE 100 business, or it could be sports hospitality, fan experience. But all the commonality is that live experience and that engagement. We've got three divisions. So we have our brands division working with all our corporate clients, from tech clients to automotive to FMCG clients to luxury, working on a whole range of events, conferences, events, award shows, exhibitions, global touring events, pop-up experiences. Then we have our sports business. So we work very heavily with Formula One, with half of the teams on the grid, with sponsors, through our Velocity motorsport business. And then we work on Rugby World Cup, on Olympics. I've just come back to LA from Paris, where we were very busy working across 22 venues with on location in terms of the hospitality design and delivery. So it was a great honor to be involved in that. Working across a lot of global sports, whether that's motorsport, whether that's football, whether that's Olympics, extreme sports like X Games, etc. So sports division, brands division, and then on the entertainment side, as I say, we put on all sorts of different shows, concerts, working with artists and performers, from Bollywood shows to Chicago All State or Madison Square Gardens. So that combination of specialisms and skills is very complementary. Sport and entertainment are so merged these days. Brands are obviously wanting to communicate with fans and engage with fans. So lots of our corporate clients, brand clients, will be involved with a sports league or with a different sponsorship, or be getting involved in music with some of the work we do at festivals and other shows we create. So the key to it is those specialisms, really, and the brand experiences, the live events we create across those.
Right. That's fascinating. You mentioned Formula One. Formula One, I think, is with the Netflix series and with the races that they've had in, I think they've done Vegas and Miami, if I'm not mistaken. I know they've done Vegas.
And Austin, yeah. So you've got Austin was the first, and then you've got Miami in the Dolphins arena area, and then obviously Vegas just coming online last year. And that's only going to get better and better, as it sort of beds in. So 3 races in the US now, and from Formula One was not of interest really in the US for many, many years, and due to a couple of reasons, and Liberty being very smart as new owners, that it's exploded, and the franchise value of the teams is huge, and Netflix has played a huge part in that, bringing to life the storytelling and dramatizing, the widening the audience from just sort of middle-aged male petrol heads to women, families, a whole younger generation. It's been remarkable what's been achieved.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I feel like in your world, a lot has probably changed over the last 10 years or so. When I thought about Formula One, I thought about Vegas, and then I thought about the sphere that they built in Vegas. I've had, several friends and colleagues that have gone and seen different events there. I think the Grateful Dead, or the what's left of the Grateful Dead, is doing a residency there. And I was fascinated because, the feedback was, look, it's unlike anything I've ever been a part of or seen. And I think that acoustically it's different, that you can, I have not been there, so I'm not speaking from personal experience, but what folks have said, you could feel some of the music, like in your seat, based on where they have some of the speakers and bass, et cetera. I'm curious, has the live fan experience, has it changed as much as, sort of a novice or an outsider like me thinks it has over the last 20 years or so?
Yeah, I think a lot has changed. You talk about the sphere, and I can come back to that in a minute. It's incredible innovation. Not only approaching Vegas when you see it from the outside, but also on the inside and the experience that fans get. But I think live experiences have become more and more central, important. COVID's accelerated that. people want meaningful, deep experiences rather than maybe material goods that they'll stick in their wardrobe or on a shelf. They want to go and experience stuff, create memories, and be part of something. Brands understand that, hence, the appetite for sport and things like Formula One, Olympics, FIFA World Cup, and also, from a music point of view. So it's a real, halcyon days for experiences. They're taken a lot more importantly by brands from, previously very much above the line, create an advertising campaign, and then it'll trickle down through the line, below the line, and then, we need to do an event. Very often now, we're at the top table with brands saying, right, what's the experience? What are we going to create? How are we going to engage with this audience group? And then out of that comes rich content, authentic content to expand out the experience far beyond just a live audience. So it's been a great journey from a TBA perspective, from feeling like being at the end of the queue in terms of marketing budgets to now being sort of front and center of the experience economy and brands really understanding that that's what consumers want. That might be going into a retail store, or that might be going to a sports event or a festival or a B2B corporate event.
Right. So are you guys kind of a one-stop shop? Do you guys outsource? I mean, from staffing the events to making sure that there's concessions. I mean, what all part of it do you guys handle? In terms of if there's a, let's say, Coca-Cola or somebody wants to put on
great question.
A major event.
Great question. I think we provide a end-to-end service. Some clients take that, all other clients buy part of that, starting off with the insights, understanding the audiences, understanding the challenge, whether it's a sport wanting to crack America or engage with different audiences, or whether that's a brand or some other kind of event. So really understanding the insights, the experience there, strategy, creativity. We have a very strong creative team and creative studio within TBA Group. So coming up with the ideation, the thinking, and then the creative look and feel, and then more often than not, then delivering that, right through to the end point, and then the evaluation and analysis, return on investment that comes from that. That clients and brands are spending a lot of money and they want to be getting a return for that money, and measuring that. So we provide an end-to-end service, but we know where we're very good, in terms of creating those experiences and across those three divisions I mentioned. So we'd see ourselves as specialists in that area. We know the landscape. We understand the relationships, we understand the contacts. Something like Formula One is difficult to navigate. So understanding Liberty, the rights holder, Formula One, the commercial organization, how the broadcast works, through to teams, drivers, how the different layers, the promoters, the circuit promoters. Like any sport, there's it's a small world when you're in it, and how to be able to connect brands to that and really unpick and understand how to leverage their partnerships or sponsorships. Same with music, and then same with brand activations. I think for us, we've got 140 odd people based in London in headquarters, but we work globally, we activate globally. So I think, this week we've obviously been in Paris, where the closing ceremonies just happened at the Olympics. But we've got a lot going on here in the States. We've got stuff going on in Australia, in Asia, in South Africa, close to home in Italy this week at Lake Como. So we're working globally across lots of different markets, different cultures, but giving brands and rights holders that consistency of experience of, when Formula One shows up, or when a brand shows up in a market, that there's a consistency of experience and not totally different experience. If you watch something in the US to going to see it in the UK.
Right. Okay. Interesting. So this is a very broad question, and I don't know if it's even answerable. But maybe we'll take let's just take your brands division, and maybe that will help limit it. But so, what makes a great event from a fan or from an attendee perspective? What makes a great event? And then maybe the corollary to that is why do brands need TBA? Why do they, what do they get from TBA that they might miss or make a mistake on or completely, screw up without you?
Well, let me try and answer both those questions. I think in terms of the event side of thing, it really starts with what's the purpose, what's the point, what's the objective, who are you trying to talk to, what are you trying to do? And once again, brands have got far, far better at identifying that and creating briefs in terms of what they're really trying to achieve. Some still need a lot of help and guidance, but gone are the days where putting on an event for event's sake and not really understanding why you're trying to do it. So defining what are the objectives, what's the desired outcome, who's the target audience, what kind of experience do we need, what kind of budget does that need, and then how do we go and deliver it, and how complicated that delivery is. So getting the brief right is so important in terms of then being able to align with the client and then deliver an experience that really meets their objectives and gives them great return on investment. In terms of from a TBA perspective, it's about how we really understand the client, how we understand their needs, their objectives, and then how we translate that into a really exciting, sticky, engaging experience that their customers or their target audience is going to really see as authentic and remember and create memories from. I remember I was there at that concert, or I remember when I was at Formula One and this happened, or I was there at this corporate event and this new product launch came around. So those we're memory makers, and those moments, the storytelling is so important. And I think with the experience we have and the team we have and the diversity of clients we have, we're able to really help clients to unlock those experiences and make them unique and different, which then is rewarding for the target audiences and the consumers who are getting the opportunity to be part of those experiences. So you've got to work hard. You need to be creative, you need to be innovative, and consistently pushing boundaries to move experiences forward. And that's what very much sports experiencing. I think that's what's so exciting about the US as well, and why we set up our office in LA and expanding in the US is with a lot of global sport, with FIFA World Cup, with the growth of Formula One in the US, with Olympics, LA 28, Rugby World Cup, all coming to the US, as well as huge domestic sport, is how to really grow the audiences and create those experiences and grow the appetite for those sports in a market that is very sophisticated in terms of putting on big shows and entertainment around sporting events. So it's tapping into that knowledge and expertise that hopefully our experiences we can give, knowing our way around different sports projects, experiences, and territories. You can't underestimate cultural differences. Paris 24 is there are some amazing things that happen at Paris 24 other than Snoop Dogg hijacking it. That's a very different experience to what LA 28 will be, and what Paris wanted to get out of it to what LA 28 will create, which will be a phenomenal, huge event as well.
Yeah. Gosh, so it's really making me think.
I mean, Brandon, or?
You did. No, you did. You did a fantastic job answering the question.
I'm not sure I quite answered that, but anyway.
No, because and look, I mean, because somebody that's not in the industry, that is I'm a participant or a fan of these things, right? And from this perspective, it can easily feel like look, the event sort of rises and falls. Maybe we'll take it out of the brand thing. Let's take it to sports and entertainment, sports or entertainment. Whether it's a good event or whether it's a good event or not, is a product. It depends on the product on the field or on the stage, right? And if it's a musician, if they play a great show, it's going to be a great experience. If they don't, it's not. But the more I think about it, I can see how the experience is shaped by far more than that, right?
And
what it feels like to go in.
Yeah.
So help us understand that. What all goes into the sort of when you walk away at the end of the night or in the end of the week or whatever, what are the details that you guys think about that we don't even know you think about?
And I mean, that's flattering, thank you. And that's also demoralizing because, of course, consumers, you turn up. If you have a seamless experience and the queue's easy, you get in, there's good food, there's good service, there's a great show, there's a great spectacle, then it's like a swan. You don't want to see all the stuff paddling fast underneath to make it happen. It's like a TV show. If you go to a TV studio on screen, you see this great show. And if you go to the live recording, then it's stop-start changing things, a bit like for the LA28 handover. Those guys and girls and the audience in Long Beach, it was a different experience to what you saw on screen to get get those moments right. So a huge amount goes into it. The thinking, the planning, and I think customers and fans are demanding so much more as well now, and American sport's been great at this, the whole experience. You go and it's entertainment, non-stop entertainment, the show, what's going on the screens, the competition, the engagement, the family engagement, as well as, the service and that whole experience. So, fans, are expecting more. Brands and rights holders and teams are going to having to work harder to give experiences to fans and consumers that are deeper and more relevant to them. And it's not just a brand turning up and slapping logos at a sports ground and having that brand visibility. It's like, how do they understand the fan passion and the culture and be part of that, which like a brand like Red Bull has done so amazingly well with extreme sports and obviously with their Formula One team, etc. So, there's a huge amount to it. It's a massive industry, and you can go to an event and it's very average. You go to an event and it's something that you'll stick out in your memory for a lifetime. And people have different approaches. Look, some concert promoters will very much, if you'd have gone to a One Direction concert, it was very much the band on stage, 5 good-looking young guys singing, and they didn't need a huge amount of complicated production. You look at Taylor Swift, you look at Adele, you look at some of these big shows, they're massive productions. There's no doubt that the artist is phenomenally successful, but people remember the whole show, the setup, the storytelling, the scenery. Rather than just a particular act. Sometimes
Sure.
keep it simple, where it could be a Bruce Springsteen or it could be a Jeff Lynne ELO, where it is more about that single performer. Building out the experience, and that's what Formula One have done, obviously. Building out that fan experience is super important. And I think it's going to be so interesting with these sports coming to the US, where the US are really used to creating a whole entertainment show, family entertainment show around maybe NFL or baseball or basketball. You go to a Lakers game and it's just non-stop entertainment. You don't really know what to look, and you've got the action on the court that's insane as well. But European and global sports more and more and more are moving towards that model.
Yeah, that is so fascinating. So I would imagine that to the extent that you guys do this stuff for like global touring artists, musicians, and to the extent that the experience isn't just from the minute the concert starts and then until the concert is over, right? I would assume the experience is parking and bathrooms and the food the concessions that they have, what it smells like, is it clean? Things that I imagine that you guys probably stress out a lot about that may or may not be inside of your control. And how in the world do you manage that, especially, on a 50 city tour, right? I mean, how in the world do you guys have control, or do you, over the traffic or the parking situation in Belfast for the Taylor Swift show, and whether or not that ruins every single fan's experience that night because they sit in 4 hours they sit in line for 4 hours just trying to get out?
Look, you've got to have a vision. You've got to invest. You've got to have high standards. things can always go wrong. Challenges can happen with the best laid plans and contingencies. Safety is obviously absolutely paramount and crucial, but you want people to have a great experience, from the moment they set foot at that experience, and even before, from the invitation process, from the anticipation, the hype, and we have a digital team who work a lot on all the digital communications that go into events before you even set foot on site, and then making sure that the wayfinding, the catering, all of the facilities are there, and you've planned for the unexpected. So you're reliant on a lot of partners and suppliers and teams and venues. But I think if you can get them behind your shared vision, then you can achieve extraordinary results. And that is so satisfying, especially internationally, where you're seeing different countries or markets, really raising the game and creating world-class experiences that just haven't been delivered before.
Right.
It's, you're right. It's a lot of detail and attention to detail, and people notice the detail. And a bad experience can just be one little thing that didn't go right.
Yeah. Well, so let's go back to the Sphere.
The Sphere. So I went to U2 at the Sphere, early days when it was opening, just pre-Vegas Grand Prix. And, it's extraordinary. I'm only disappointed there wasn't one in London, but hopefully the mayor will change his mind. It's incredible. It's a great thing for Las Vegas, the way that city reinvents itself. And, when you're flying in and you see it, and, inside, it's extraordinary because it's like no other concert venue. The performers are so tiny on stage, and the stage is very simple. But then you've got this huge LED canvas that is just extraordinary and immersive. It's not cheap. It's expensive to create all the content for that, and I think that's really an interesting challenge when bands and promoters are going in there. But in terms of an immersive, unique, phenomenal experience, the talkability of it, it's become iconic very quickly, I think, the Sphere, and you should go check it out.
Yeah. Well, I was in Vegas in June, and I couldn't make the dates work, but next time I'm definitely going. Do you think that that's going to sort of up the ante on expectations of the fan experience going forward? I mean, obviously not everyone's going to expect, to have the LED canvas in every place they see an act, but right, you had IMAX to start off. This has now been sort of introduced to the masses. In 20 years, is it going to be, some virtual reality thing where you're standing on stage with Taylor Swift while she's, singing? What's
Hey, look, you've got Roblox and the whole metaverse as well, and those parallel virtual experiences. So the opportunities to interact and be immersed are huge. I think you've got to be continually innovating and doing things differently, and that's the exciting part of our job, is coming up with these ideas and having brands and sports leagues who are willing to break boundaries and invest and move shows forward. Even from music shows, they've changed from fans wanting artists to be more engaging and empathetic, to talk during their shows, to engage with the audience. You see that a lot more. Adele's the master at that. She gets out in the audience, she's engaging with you, and you feel that she's connecting and she's on your level. So there's more pressure on artists to do that, as well as do a kind of distant set piece on stage. So that interaction with events is super important, and how Formula One's phenomenal. You can be mingling with, if you're lucky enough to be in the paddock or pits or on the grid before the race, you can be meddling with the Formula One drivers, 5 minutes before they're going at 200 miles an hour down the straight at the start of a race. So that accessibility is phenomenal, and something that Formula One obviously does extremely well.
Yeah. Have you guys done any work with professional golf?
We worked on Ryder Cup in Rome last year, and we worked on the Open. We worked with Liv. we really enjoyed lots of mixed experiences in golf. I was at the Waste Management Open in Felix last year, and that was just phenomenal. I'm not sure there was a huge amount of golf fans there, but there was a lot of people who wanted to party. I mean,
Yeah.
that 16th hole was something like I've never seen before. The amount of
They had to shut it. They had to
hospitality.
shut it down.
Yeah, exactly. It got too wild and they shut it down. It's yeah, supersized, but obviously a huge passion point golf, isn't it? And like Formula One, and like it seems that paddle and pickleball's coming up as well. That yeah, it's it's phenomenal. Really, it'll be interesting to see where it all ends up in terms of the PGA and Live and
Yeah.
yeah, that sense and reason and convergence, hopefully.
Yeah, but I've played sports all my life, and I wouldn't say I'm a sports fanatic, but I love watching sports. And so much has changed because I feel like there's so much pressure on the professional sports leagues to deliver a better product. It's sort of a more fast paced, more entertaining product. Major League Baseball's got a pitch clock now, right? Where they make the games go faster. And golf wise, I feel like my personal opinion is that a big part of the Live tour was they feel like golf is sort of old and stodgy and it takes too long and it's not a great TV product, and they wanted to make a totally different product for the fans. And it's fascinating. I would imagine it'd be really fascinating to think about it through your eyes, right?
And Live, like it or hate it, it gave everybody a shot in the arm, and
Yeah,
it woke up Ryder Cup, PGA, to try different things. So it's given us the opportunity to create new, innovative fan experiences, not just with Live, but across Ryder Cup as well, and engage fans in a different way. So innovation and challenge is great. It's just the same as Formula One. You've got to constantly be moving forwards, and so for us, yeah, we like that. We want to be creative and innovative and have the chance to come up with fresh ideas. And you've got to continually be moving forwards. You're absolutely right in terms of consumption of sport and entertainment, bite-sized chunks. You're looking at Gen Z who want to see clip highlights on their phones. And they'll be watching their phones or maybe a secondary device, a tablet, a laptop, iPhone, whatever it is, whilst also watching the race. Or you just want to see, the putts, or you want to see the overtakes. You don't want to see the whole thing. So the whole consumption of sport is different, isn't it? And then that drives demand to being there at the physical occasion.
yeah. That was what I was going to ask. Obviously, no one has a crystal ball, but what do you think that the status of sport, or at least the professional sports leagues that are would be considered worldwide? Do you think that those are going to change pretty significantly over the next 15, 20 years? Or
I think that audience groups will change. I think attracting younger, different audiences. Male, female audiences. Female sport as well is just exploding. You look at football now. You got rugby in the US. Female rugby in the US is really growing. Formula One, and with F1 Academy, and a much more level playing field for female participants, as well as the marketing side of sport. Traditionally, you look at merchandise, and the whole experience has perhaps been more male and more sort of geared towards the traditional audience, whereas now you need to think different in terms of menu choice of drinks, choice of merch, the experience, the different things that matter. So sports have got to evolve and change, and the ones that don't will be left behind and decline as dinosaurs and need to be reinvented. So it's a real challenge for clubs, for franchise teams, and for the leagues and the rights holders to really keep their core audience engaged and not get them disillusioned, whilst bringing in new audiences and making the sports understandable and accessible to kind of easily get involved. And for them to be entertaining. Sport is expensive. It's expensive to take a family, or it's expensive to go with your mates. And so the expectations, I think, are high of that entertainment and the quality you get when you're there.
Yeah. What are the biggest challenges that you guys face when trying to deliver for your clients?
Where do you want to start?
Yeah.
I think it really comes down to um, uh, objectives and expectations. What are the objectives? Do the client know what they really want or they really need, or are they honest enough to say, we don't know, we need help with that. We know there's something we need to do, but we're not sure where or how. So really identifying, the problem and the objective of what that piece of work is. And then I think also expectations, being realistic, in terms of budget, do we need to spend all that budget? Sometimes maybe not. And other times, what can we get for the budget, and what should we do rather than trying to do too much in an average way, rather than be more targeted and do it in an exceptional way. So I think the objectives and expectations are really key. And then also working with clients who are open and collaborative, and open to ideas and change, and trying things. You've got to try things. They won't always be right, but you've got to try things, learn from that, maybe tweak, adjust, and go again. And having the brave pills to go and do that is often quite difficult. And with committees and with complex leadership management structures, it's hard sometimes to do that. And I think that's where Formula One has achieved so much since Liberty took over, because they've tried a whole load of new stuff, from sprint races to ripping up the fan experience, to working differently with promoters, different cost cap with the teams, different regulations, trying different things that really unlock the experience.
Even more, yeah. So what's your dream, or do you have sort of a dream experience? Maybe somebody or a league or an entity that you haven't worked with before that you would love to put an event on, say in Wembley Stadium or something. What's your dream scenario or your dream event that would be your like sort of swan song if you could put the entire thing
Well,
on?
I don't know about swan song, but a huge priority for us is the US. FIFA World Cup, unlocking football, is going to be massive. Beckham and Inter Miami have done a good job of bringing some of that stardom, like
With
we've talked
Messi,
about
yeah.
from the Lakers and with Messi. So FIFA World Cup will be huge and exciting to be part of. We've been a part of those tournaments since 2002. But for me, LA 28, you could feel the energy in the stadium at the handover. Paris did a phenomenal job. There was criticism, but you look at the competitive sport, you look at the highlights, and it was a great 2 weeks of entertainment. I think the US viewing figures, were super impressive compared to the last Olympics. But there's just something about LA 28 that there's a lot of work to do. Obviously, we're here on the ground in LA with our US office, and keen to be a key part in that. And it's going to be the biggest sports event on earth, in the world, and it's just going to be phenomenal. I think lots of domestically in the US and globally fans coming to the US to enjoy LA 28. It's going to be phenomenal, and I think it feels a long way away now, sitting here 3 days after Paris closing ceremony, but it's going to be here in a jiffy, LA 28, and I think it's massively exciting and a lot to look forward to.
It is. I was talking to a colleague of mine just last week. I've got 5 kids, and 2 girls, 3 boys. They're all in different stuff. They're all different ages, and I was saying, to me, this is the first time that technology has really allowed viewers that aren't local to, I think, really sort of consume the Olympic experience, right? I mean, with whether it's a cable provider or an online platform, the ability to sort of look at a dashboard of kind of what's going on and then select the different sports that you want to watch, whether pre-recorded or in real time. I watched my kids do that, right? And anyway, it made me think of the Olympics that were in Atlanta in 1996 and how very different it was. It always felt like you could only pay attention to or consume one of the Olympic sports at a time, and you didn't really know when that was coming. And so I don't know. I could be completely wrong. I know nothing about this, but from a fan's perspective, I feel like maybe the Olympics is coming of age because technology really now allows the fans to consume it the way that they want to. But
I mean,
I agree. I think
there's so much going on in the Olympics. That 2 weeks of sport across so many different sports, so many different countries, as you say, with technology and the digital world being able to consume lots of different experiences and events, the medal tables. We did an amazing VR experience which put fans, on the medal rostrum by the Arc de Triomphe. The VR experience was so cool. It gave people that experience of walking out as a gold, silver, bronze medal winner with the crowd, with the audience, with the vista and with the view. And it was great to see the reaction to that, really taking people's, minds to, those medal ceremonies that are so unique. So there's lots of different engaging ways, but sure, Olympics is huge, but it's also, really complicated. I mean, we were working with On Location, huge part of Endeavor, US firm, who work on Super Bowl and all the hospitality, amazing business. But I think even compared to Super Bowl, the complexity of the amount of sports, the amount of guests, the amount of fans there, consuming multiple different sports a day, multiple different rounds, women's, men's. It's such a complicated program and a tournament. It is an absolute beast, the Olympics. But as a fan, it's phenomenal. Whether you're watching on TV or whether you're there in one of the stadiums or arenas, and you look at the amount of effort that goes into it. We worked on the American swim trials, to select the teams for the Olympics in Indianapolis. And, they built that temporary pool in the stadium. It was incredible. And there's a whole industry in that now, in terms of innovation and building the pools. And I think they're going to do the same for LA 28. And then, you're not creating a big aquatics arena that's going to be a white elephant afterwards. But the innovation there is phenomenal, the scale of it. I mean, it's, in this stadium in Indianapolis, and a week afterwards, it's gone,
Wow. I would have 15 questions on that, but we're about to run over here, so I want to be respectful of your time. So just one last sort of silly question, not silly, but question that I asked a lot of the guests. If you could go back in time and visit your 25-year-old self, and you had a chance to just whisper something or tell him just maybe 10 seconds to tell him something, what would you go back and tell him? Now, seeing what you've seen now, having the chance to go tell your 25-year-old self, what would you tell him?
I think the biggest thing for me, and I often think about this, is surround yourself with the very best, capable, talented, most positive people, inspirational people you can. That might be family, friends, that might be, your father, your mother, it might be business colleagues, it could be friends, other inspirational characters, but both in terms of mentoring, in terms of ambition, drive, and also in business, that, be confident and don't either not want to pay for the best, or not feel secure enough to surround yourself with people better than you at certain things. In my business, I want to hire people better than me in those areas, because they're focusing on that. Our creative director should have much more creative ideas possibly than I do. That's his job, that's his expertise. So surrounding yourself with the best possible people and then getting the best out of them, for me is, if I wound the clock back, I was very worried about the P&L and very worried about making a profit and growing the business and breaking even. I would have thrown every penny into grabbing the best possible people at that moment. And we're very fortunate now as a business. We've got a phenomenal team of people who are really responsible for the business. I guide the ship, but it's their work, it's their relationships, it's their ideas. And so, people are so important. It's a cliche, but surround yourself with great people and inspiring people. And, for me, the world's your oyster, and if you get it wrong, you need to change that quickly, because or it'll drag you down.
Yeah. Wow. Great answer. Great answer. Well, God, thank you so much for your time. Fascinating industry that you're in, and a fascinating business. If people want to learn more about TBA and what you guys do, or may have an event to put on, where should they go?
Yeah, sure. Look, really enjoyed it, Brandon. I think, go to our website, which is tbaplc.co.uk, or the group's website, which is TBA Group, grp.com. Obviously, we're on social channels on LinkedIn, on Instagram, and come and take a look at some of the work we're doing. It's phenomenal. Super proud of what the teams are achieving globally, and it's been a pleasure to talk to you about it.
Yeah, likewise. You should be proud. You should be proud. I've taken a look at some of that stuff. It's amazing what you guys do.
Thanks, Brandon.
Amazing. Yep. All right, guys, take care. Don't forget, everybody, you can find Boundary Breakers in a lot of places. You can watch our episodes on the Boundary Breakers YouTube channel, or you can listen to each podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or any of the other major podcasting platforms. Thanks for listening.